Gus Sebring, Associate Principal Horn of the BSO and Principal Horn of the Boston Pops, and liaison to the fellows, the Horn Fellows of the Tanglewood Music Center. Tanglewood Music Center runs concurrently with the BSO's summer season at Tanglewood, just a couple hours west of Boston, a couple hours north of New York City, in July and August. And we have 6 Horn Fellows, usually about 70 people audition, and I'm here to give you some tips today on the audition list, starting with the Mozart Fourth Concerto. When you're thinking harmonically, so those inverted seventh chords, so that's kind of what I'm thinking in my head when I'm playing that. So a little more energy there. You have a question and an answer. So they're kind of 2 phrases. Is the question, and the answer is. So you have a little more, that's why. And then we come to the actual beginning of the solo. That was Leutgeb's warm-up, because he probably didn't warm up before he played the piece. Mozart's favorite horn player, the cheesemonger. So now we come to the meat of the piece. Always thinking 8th notes, and a build as you go through those whole notes. Bum bum bim bee dum. Always be thinking of the bass line. If you can hear the bass line in your head and even play the bass line, then you will always have a flow, and you'll always have the correct tensions and resolutions that make the music ebb and flow. So. Think about the contrary motion. The bass is going. There's our 8th note friends again. Right? So, and I feel like all the scales in these things are almost ornamental, that we don't have to worry so much about the high B flat. We can just kind of, that's why I kind of emphasize that F maybe a little too much. And also, a lot of people play those 16ths really quickly. It's nice to play them a little longer, a little lyrically. I like to increase a little bit at the end of there. And now a little more lyric. Maybe bounce those 8ths if you can. It's kind of ha 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 hee ha ha bum 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 bee. Kind of leaning on the long note a little bit and letting the scale just kind of float out. And so I'm thinking of this conversationally. Bim bom do 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 dum bi do dum do do dum do do dum do do bi ba 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 da ba ba bum bi da ba ba do 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 bom ba 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 da ba ba bum bom bom. And again, listen to the harmony here. Right? And then now your conversational partner has the melody. So that's a commentary on what they just said. And really come down here and really build. On any trill, be aware of, in Mozart, of where the third beat is, because often the harmony changes there. Dun 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 bum 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 bum. Right? So that's the exposition of Mozart 4. So next in our series of Tanglewood 2020 audition excerpts is Brahms' Second. Now this one, it needs to be very expansive, a nice warm sound, and really, again, consider the bass line as the foundation of where you feel tension and where you feel relaxation. And of course in Brahms, a lot of times something relaxes, but something else stays tense. And then maybe that relaxes and another thing goes into tension. So try to feel all those tensions and releases as you're playing. So in terms of the bass line, there's a big sort of a 5 going on here. And it's a big long 5 to a 1. In other words, a dominant to a tonic transition is really what this whole solo is about. So you have to feel where it starts on the 5. So there you are on your 5/7. And you got just a ton of appoggiaturas all through this thing. And so you kind of lean on an appoggiatura. We usually lean on the first note a little bit. Dee-da, dee-da. And release a little bit on the second note. Although melodically sometimes you'll increase on the second note if you're going somewhere else. You want to know where your hit points. Of course, the first one here is da-da-dee-dum, right? So be thinking that 5/7, that horn E or concert A in the bass. And it's interesting that it doesn't go to the tonic of that key there, it stays on a 5, so it's unsettled. Interesting here as you go dee da dee up to that horn F, that the basses are descending. Dee da. So really try to feel that. That they're going. That's kind of what's going in through my mind as I'm playing this, is what the basses are doing. And in hearing that bass line, I feel the other internal tensions in the orchestration. So just to play it through once. And know that all that harmonic thing, all those harmonic things are going on in my mind while I'm playing this. Because that tells me where the tension is and the relaxation is. And as you ascend up to the climax, really be passionate about the tension that you're building. Also, there's always a question of where to breathe at the end. Be-da-dee-da-do. It's nice if you can connect those because and then breathe. So that way you get that kind of sequence. Dee-da-dee-da, dee. So that's Brahms 2. So Till Eulenspiegel. So the beginning tempo, dee-dum, ba-dim, ba-dee-da-dee-da-da-da-da-da-dee-dum. And it's the same. Eighth note equals dotted quarter here. Some conductors like Dochnani will be real sticklers about that you do not start slow. There's a tradition of starting slow and sneaky, like Till has got the bucket of water over the door and he's peering around the corner to see who's going to get soaked. But if you can get away with that, it's great. But Dochnani won't let you get away with that, and some other conductors won't as well. So what Strauss wrote is that it starts exactly at the tempo of the previous eighth note. Ba-dee-da-dee-da-da-da-dee. Dom, allmählich lebhafter means gradually more lively. So gradually means it starts here, meaning not suddenly faster right here, or not suddenly faster right here, but gradually over the course of the time between this G and the bottom here, where you should arrive at the full tempo. Beam, bom, bom. If you can set those three notes up in full tempo, then we know how long this rest is if you're playing it without the orchestra. Bing, bom, bom, dum, dum, ring, ba 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 ba, di ba 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 ba, and sehr lebhaft, good accents, and the three segments of Till. In order to play it in time, you can start by just playing this much. Ba 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 ba, di ba bum. Keying on this note here as a second beat. Do-di-do-dum, di-do-do-dum. You can even break this tie. 1 da-da-da-da-da-di-da-da. 1 da-da-da-da-da-di-da-da. Practice it with the metronome in time, starting on the correct beat and everything. And do that over and over again. The second segment of Till starts here and it ends here. 1 da-da-da-da-da-di-dum. 1 da-da-da-da-da-di-dum. Don't add that tie back in until you can play it perfectly in time. Again, you're keying on the second beat of this bar. 1 da-da-da-da-da-di-da. That comes right in time. That helps you play that. So 1 da-da-da-da-di-dum. And the third segment is 1 da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was going to say before, good accents. Make sure you make good accents. Da-da-da-dee, da-da-da-dee. Accent means a good front on the note and a taper. All right, a little shine on those notes. So you can start the first note on first valve, B-flat horn. Make sure your first slide isn't in too far. As I said, make sure your first slide isn't in too far. Make sure it's not out too far. Otherwise your first valve G will be flat. But it seems to speak easier and you don't have the thumb valve issue between the C and the G. All right, and then, so we're at full tempo. And then the second call, and then the difference is piano first call, mezzo forte, piano crescendo toward the end of the first call, mezzo forte crescendo to fortissimo at the last bit. Now for me, sometimes I use a slightly bigger mouthpiece. That's a 75 G last key. This is, I think and hope, a 775 G. This is a 775 G. Slightly bigger mouthpiece helps the lower notes come out better, slightly more room in the mouthpiece. Get your best low C first. And then get to it from the G. And then from the C. This concept of backwards practice, you can use it for everything. Second call. Dum, dum. And that's till. So next is Ravel G major piano concerto, the horn solo in the first movement at rehearsal number 25. So I like to think sometimes in slow music, if you sing it fast, you get a feel for the overall phrasing rhythm. So this, I think, you could think of it as in a big two. Bum, 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 ba, dee, do, 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 dee, do, do, dee, do, 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 do. And sort of on the downbeats of the big two is where you would aim as hit points for the stress in it. So. Good. So as you hear, not perfect. And so then I would think about what happened and why. Okay, so coming down, I went to 1 and 2, and then going 1 and 2 for the A, going up to the B flat, back to the B flat. Something about that valve turning wasn't coordinated with my airstream or whatever. So many times you can solve those things just by looking at your fingers, any finger coordination problem. And I think the same thing happened after the breath. So make sure everything is coordinated. Now on this one, it's really important to recognize the harmonic landscape around it. You've got at 24 before this very loud thing that's going back and forth between major and minor arpeggios in the piano, and that big low A in the second horn. And then the trombone. So the chord you end up on is a real jazzy sharp 9 or something. And right here it changes. The bass changes down to a D, concert D. Doesn't quite resolve at the very end, but also feel where those bass changes are, and make sure that you're playing. You can play much like a jazz saxophone. If you haven't worked on vibrato, it's a really good time to think about vibrato. Being able to play just a straight tone and then vary it with your airstream, vary it with your jaw, and you can even modulate the air with your throat. Some people actually move their hand. I don't know. I've never had any success with that. But so a belly wobble or a gut vibrato. I'm actually moving my gut. Throat would be. So but then soften it, ha 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 ha, like that. And a jaw vibrato would be. Right, and sometimes you can combine them. it's important, what I didn't do at that point was get my lips in before I added pressure. If you add pressure before you get your lips in, the lips don't go in. So get the position for the high C while you're still on the G before you add pressure. On that F right there, the oboe has Tabato's famous warm-up, and they need a lot of time. So on that F downbeat, make sure you make a nice crescendo into it, and you can lean on it, real tenuto on that F, so that they have time to get up. All that kind of stuff. So. Which doesn't quite resolve again at the end. So that's Ravel G major. Okay, so Shostakovich V. If you want the big phrasing of this, again, it helps to sing it fast. And again, this almost seems like it's in a big two. So ba 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 B ba 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 B ba 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 ba. So you can always think of downbeats, upbeats if you think of it in a big two. All right, and the hit points D da 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 D da release da 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 D tension release, and then B da da D da da D da da tension B bomb keep tension da 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 D da syncops. You always hit the downbeat ba 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 ba. Right, so you just kind of you don't float these exactly, but bum ball ball bum bum ball. That we really make sure we get this some oomph on that note there. Boom boom, and all right. So and we start speeding up here, and then this is moving along here. You're thinking kind of quarters here. At the very beginning. Da da dum da da dum da da be da da, very militaristic and blocky notes, right? With a direction to the D flat and the C, all right, and then again direction to that C flat, all right. And now and then the very end, just da 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 dee dee dum, right? So don't hit the A and like bang like a big accent or anything. Just sostenuto through here and make sure the B flat's louder than that. As a high horn player, first horn player for 40 years now, I really rely on my section mates to produce a lot of sound on this, and they do. I try to do the best I can, which means get a lot of focus, not necessarily huge volume, but play it in tune and with the right character. One needs to know where one's breaks, embouchure breaks, are. And this is the piece that taught me that. So I have a break somewhere around. I have a break somewhere around D flat to E flat. I can play slightly lower on the high set, and I can play slightly higher on the low set. So there's some overlap there, but in this piece, because you're in that area all the time, you need to know where you're going to switch. So I switch at the D flat, and then I stay on the low set for the E flat after it. Switch again, I breathe, bum, 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 breathe, bum, be. So that F isn't my best register, it's probably my worst register on the horn. I can play it really loud. publisher, it doesn't go any softer than that. It just goes away. So I played on the high set, and I try to make sure the low set notes that I can play much louder aren't louder than that one, so that it has some consistency of sound. That's probably one of my worst range and worst passages in the orchestral literature for making it really sound good. So luckily in the section I can hide, but you're taking an audition so you can't. So, and all of my students can play this better than me, but it's about knowing exactly where the best set for those notes is and getting the best sound you can possibly get. Should be on the low set there, but I'm going back up, so I really can't. So that means that's about the limit I can, if I push it, it just does that. If I go to the low set, I can blast it. But I can't play it softer than that. It doesn't have any control if I go softer than that. So it's going to be between a rock and a hard place, and I do the best I can. The Siegfried short call. So the first call here, if you can think of it as, sometimes it works well if you think of it in 3/4. So da-dee da-da-da-da-dee da-da-da. You want direction from the beginning to this D. So da-dee da-da-da-da-dee da-da-da. And then this is in 2 and then in 3. Which isn't what's written at all, but somehow it feels right to me that way. And now here you can play and from this F on be saving for the last 4 notes. Right? So when you get to this F, think of it hit here and hit here and hit here, 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 here. So back off. And it's not necessarily make big accents on those, but you can back off and make right? So the rhythmic complexity increases as you go through towards the end. It's all on a big 8th horn has a big pedal G under it, written pedal G. And so it's all very much 5, boom, 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 boom. Get the bass clarinet in here to think about while you're playing in your audition and getting ready for this. Change your air in here so that you have plenty of air. And remember, save for those last 4 notes. It's important to get the rhythm right. The stress is on the first beat, not the top note. And it's important to get the E so that we actually hear the pitch of the E on the 16th note. Right? And you can think of this in a big 3. That gives it the direction to the last note. And the next one. dee da da ba. So you get that sort of sense of arrival at the D. And then you have a bass clarinet. And always try to start without water in the horn. It always sounds better and it actually plays better. Water in the horn can affect an articulation, especially in the upper register. And you want to change your air here. Make sure you have plenty of air. And at that point, from that F, you can back off. At that point, think about saving in this last call for the last 4 notes. Alright? It's an old Tom Newell trick. Save for the last 4 notes. So when I get to that F, I start thinking. Right? So the rhythmic complexity increases as you get through, as you move through, which adds excitement and tension. Right? So. And you can actually speed up just so that it goes right? And always remember that underneath that, the 8th horn is going. And that the resolution note on your high C, they're going. Right? So that it's not always a tonic note. You think this is written C and that ends on a high C, that everything's tonic under it. It's not. It's a big 5. Bum, bim, bum, ba, bum, 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 which gives it this sort of off the ground feeling. That's Siegfried's short call on every audition.